So this is part 2 of what if Deku was the son of Zeus. Now, as Zeus was throwing lightning bolts at Deku, he attempted to charge himself with lightning to dodge the bolts, but the lightning was far too fast for him to dodge as he wailed in pain. "Boy, I'm not the god of the thunder. I'm a god of the sky. If you're only using lightning to try to dodge my bolts, you're going to die." As Zeus flew up into the sky to get a better shot at Deku. As Deku got up, cleared his mind and thought, he's flying and he's the god of the sky. So he's controlling the wind. As Zeus was preparing to throw another bolt at Deku, he looked at his hands as he saw lightning form. He also saw him form smaller clouds to make the lightning bolts wet, and he added wind to the bolts to make them faster, as he thought, he's controlling 3 different aspects of his power all at once. No wonder he's so strong. Now let me try that. As Zeus threw another lightning bolt at Deku, he then threw up a wall of lightning to block Zeus' view of him. He then stopped using his lightning to amplify his movements. As he then started to try to use wind, just like he said, the lightning, the wind, it's all around me. I control it. I tell it what to do. I make it bow to my will because I am a god, and the winds and the storms are all slaves to which I have full control. So bow to me. As he focused on his body, the wind started to go around him. As he started to stumble at first, Zeus, now seeing what he was trying to do, said, "Remember, the wind is yours, but you need to have an image of it in your mind doing what you want it to do. You must give it a task to carry out in your name." As Deku started to imagine the wind spinning in the form of a hurricane, as he started to surround himself with the wind, creating a giant hurricane, he then started telling the wind to go places. As Zeus was going to throw another bolt at Deku, and got the wind to push Zeus and slam a concentrated gust of wind onto Zeus, knocking him down. As Zeus smiled and said, "Oh, you think you're funny, huh?" As Zeus then pointed at Deku, as smaller wet wind powered bolts of lightning started coming down at Deku. As Zeus then used the wind and slammed Deku to the ground. As Deku then got up and waved out Zeus' wind and then used both the wind and lightning to amplify his movements. As Deku was evading the powered bolts, he then outstretched his hand and said, "Form!" as miniature clouds started to form over his hands. As he then said, "Rain!" As the clouds started to pour, Deku then concentrated on creating a giant lightning bolt. As he felt not only the adrenaline, but the electricity running through him, as it went inside and outside of his body. His hands started to spark, and soon a sparking noise could be heard as electricity started to radiate from Deku's hands. As it was simply uncontrolled lightning, Deku bent it to its will, giving it shape and power. As it was then shaped into a bolt, he then willed the wind to spin around it to make it faster, as he then threw it back to Zeus, to which Zeus immediately caught was then electrocuted due to the added water, stumbled and said, "Finally." As Zeus then dissipated the lightning clouds, he then grabbed Deku and flew into the sky. As he then said, "Now there are only a few more things you need to learn. The main things are full sky vision and full control over your lightning with your divine form. You're a fast learner. Your siblings generally take more time to harness their respective abilities that you've harnessed and mastered in but a few hours. And to be honest, these abilities took me decades to learn and master before I could use them on Kronos. But even though you're talented, these abilities will take you far more time to master." As Zeus then created a platform of wind for them both to stand on, as they were looking down on the world from an extremely high vantage point, like an airplane looking out at the world in the sky. As Zeus then charged up his hands and put them on Deku's skull, as Deku then saw the whole sky, everything that was in it, everything that was below it. He could see the whole world. He couldn't see the sea or through the ground, but he can see everything on the earth, regardless of if someone was in a building or not. He could see them. It was almost as if he was God himself, completely omniscient, seeing everything in the world, including Olympus, all at once. As Zeus then took off his hands off of Deku's head, bringing him back to his regular vision, as Deku then gasped and clasped his head, as it was too much information for his brain to process and handle, as he fell to his knees, as he just said, How do I do that?" To do that, you need to charge your mind with divine lightning. What? Let me make it simple for you. When you exert electricity, that's simple, normal electricity within the parameters of science. But when you will things to happen, such as when you will the bolt to take shape, that was divine lightning. When you will things to happen, it's divine. When you will the wind to follow your command, it was divine. You could have simply pushed it or exerted it out, but that would have been nowhere nearly as effective when you try to slam me with the wind. If you used normal wind, I would have easily been able to withstand that. But when you willed the wind itself to slam me down, even I, as a god of the sky, was a victim of that attack. As you've noticed, in all of these things, you had to will them into existence. You had to have a thought filled with determination and certainty that what you wanted would materialize. Because, as I said, it is your slave. You must will it to enact your will, and when it comes to what you have just seen, you must will it to show itself to you. You must will the sky to open its eyes to you, and you alone. And once you have done that, you will have sight over all things below and above, whether it's on earth. But space is difficult. We only see things from the position of the sky, so the limit to what we can see is kind of based off the limit that you can perceive things outward from the sky. Even if you focus, it would still be incredibly hard since planets aren't exactly right next to each other. In fact, they're millions of miles away, so there'd be no point to try to look into space. However, my father, Kronos, the god of space and time, can do something similar, but with space. Regrettably, I modeled this ability after him. He was able to use this to teleport to different spaces, wherever they may be. For us, it's kind of difficult. We can't just directly teleport and turn into lightning. We have to see the place in our mind and bend ourselves to the form of lightning, and then use the sky as a vantage point to make a cloud that's shooting a lightning bolt, and use it to get to our destination. By converging with it, you can choose the position of the bolt, if you will it. All that to teleport? Yeah, there's more steps, but since we move at the speed of lightning, it appears as seamless teleportation. So you should be fine. But what about becoming lightning? As I explained, you basically will things into existence. But when it comes into turning into lightning, you have to think of your body as a piece of metal, and your lightning is basically the heat forming it into shape. You basically need to force yourself to will yourself to shape, and once you do that, you should be able to freely move at the speed of lightning, because you yourself are lightning. That sounds hard. Yeah, it is, but that's what we're going to be trying to do until the UA entrance exam. And then you're on your own. I'll send you some messages, either in person or in different forms, and I'll see you every now and then. But for now, we'll just be training for a few months. Also, the last thing I want to teach you is flight. This is an innate godly ability. You can either use the wind or just the ability in tandem with the wind. So, figure it out. Zeus stopped the wind barrier under Deku as he fell screaming. Now to the entrance exam. As a 6'4" Deku wearing the exact same suit as the one in the thumbnail was walking to the entrance of UA, when suddenly he bumped into a girl, and she fell as he immediately caught her and said, "Wow, we just met and you're already falling for me," as they both laughed as he put her in a straight, upright position. As she said, "Hi, my name's Uraka." As he said, "Hey, my name's Deku." As they were shaking hands getting introduced, a weird kid with blue hair and engines on his feet was running to the entrance of UA, mumbling something about not being late as he ran past Uraka, startling her and creating a slight wind pressure, knocking her into Deku, as they both fell on the ground, but this time she literally fell on him. As he was holding her on the ground, his eyes then radiated as lightning was seen coming off his eyes. As he was getting angry, as Uraka then said, "Are you okay? You seem a little tense." As he then snapped out of his anger and said, "Yeah, I'm okay. It's just that I'm a little surprised by how forward you are." "What do you mean?" "I mean, at least take a guy out to eat first before you get on top of him." "Yeah, I guess. You're right, my bad." As they got up and walked to the entrance ceremony. As they got to the ceremony, President Mike started speaking. As Bakugo, already there, waved at Deku. As Deku and Uraka went and sat next to Bakugo, as he said, "Wow, we just got here and you already got a girl." No, not yet. She's playing hard to get." "Okay." As he said, "Hey, my name's Bakugo. Whenever you get tired of him and want a real man, I'm right here." "Oh, I'll take that into consideration." As Ida said, "Be quiet. The teacher's trying to explain the exam." As Deku simply glared, as Bakugo said to shut the hell up when he's in a conversation. As Ida just looked stunned. That's not something a hero should say. "I don't give a damn about what you think. I'll say whatever the hell I want." As Bakugo and Ida went back and forth, President Mike's presentation eventually came to an end. As Ida said, "How dare you make me miss the exam presentation speech? How dare you speak back to me, as if you're even worth my time?" As Bakugo, Uraka, and Deku all got up and left the ceremony room, as they went to their respective rooms for the entrance tests. As Deku was taking the written exam, he panicked and then thought, "Wait, I don't have to take this seriously. I can just cheat." As he used his sky vision and saw everything in the room, including the answer sheet on the teacher's desk, as he simply wrote down all the answers, the teachers, seeing the sudden change in his disposition, started to observe him, but they couldn't find anything out of the ordinary, so they simply resided and sat back down. After the examination, Deku then proceeded to the physical examination with the bots. As the instructor signaled start via the start announcement on the loudspeaker, Deku simply waited for 5 minutes and then said, "Sky vision," and saw all the robots in the arena. Seeing them, he then said, "Zeus's judgment," as the clouds formed, fully covering the exam area, and thunderbolts rained down, striking and destroying all the available robots. Every robot in the exam was destroyed, even the 0-point robot. Seeing this, the teachers then said on the loudspeaker, The exam has been concluded. There are no more existing robots still in the exam area. Many of the students taking the exam were extremely mad but fearful because the lightning bolts had hit the robots, just inches of them, but they could do nothing but cower in the face of the indomitability of Deku's lightning. After the exam were concluded, Deku was given a high score of 326 villain points and 200 hero points, since he technically saved people from getting hurt with his lightning, and since Deku and Bako took the test at different times. In this exam, Bako got 150 points. After finishing the test, Deku simply went home and went to sleep. After a week, a message in the mail came from UA, and it was his acceptance letter. Seeing this, Deku decided to watch it with his mother. After they watched the video, they then had a little party to congratulate him on his efforts with his effortless acceptance into UA, with him receiving the highest scores in both the practical and physical exams. Now to UA. As Deku is entering the class of UA, he then sees Bako and then proceeds to sit next to him. As he sits down, he then sees a nervous Momo who obviously wants to talk to him but doesn't know how. So he says, "Why are you so far away from me? Come here, I don't bite," as she smiles and approaches. As they then started introducing each other their quirks and names, as Momo said, "So you're strong and can control the weather? You're basically like a demigod." "Yeah, you could say that." As Bako said, "Yeah, it's weird. Every year he always got stronger, but I've only recently seen him start using electricity and the clouds." "Yeah, my dad recently taught me how to do that." "Oh, really? Isn't your dad overseas running company?" "Yeah, but he had some time off, so he taught me how to better use my power." "Oh, okay." As the other students hearing this started to come over to ask him about his power, as Aizawa in his sleeping bed said, "Quiet down." As everyone in the class, surprised, noticed a tired man in all black in a sleeping bag. As he started explaining who he was and what he would be doing. Now, let's get to the quirk assessment, as everyone except Deku and Bako were nervous because they felt lucky to get into UA. In the physical test, Deku easily passed all of them since he had super strength. Deku isn't nearly as physically strong as All Might, but if I had to give him a percentage of one for all, with just his base power without using wind or electricity to amplify his movements, I'd say like 30% of one for all. With Deku easily passing the exams because of his physique, everyone else is just in pure disbelief and full of jealousy, because not only does he have an extremely powerful quirk, but he also has super strength. Bako, having to deal with Deku all his life, decided that it was paramount that he was in good physical shape. And considering that Stain was incredible and agile while not having a quirk, I can assume that the physicality in my hero works in a completely different manner than in real life. So I'll say Bako is like 2% of one for all. So he's very impressive for a normal human, but just not the level of Deku. Yet. But everybody, seeing Bako, someone who they considered talented, but normal, started to try hard because they realized that he didn't have a strength quirk, yet his results were still impressive. Seeing the determination of the students, Aizawa decided that he wouldn't expel anyone. Now to the ball throw. Bako got 903 meters. Deku grabbed the ball and threw it and got 1,200 meters. As Aizawa said, "Shouldn't you be using the full extent of your powers?" "Nah, I already know my limits, so there's no need." "But I don't, and as your teacher, I have to know how to help improve you, so use your powers to the fullest or you'll get expelled." "Fine," as Deku then lifted the ball with wind and then launched into space, getting infinity. As Bako thought, "Damn it, how am I supposed to compete with that? He was already strong before, but now he can use the fucking wind and lightning? What is this shit?" As everyone looked at Deku in shock, he simply walked back to the group and started talking with Momo and Uraraka. All Might saying this thought, his divine concentration is extremely strong, and although that other boy is a bit rugged, he shows promise. After school had ended, All Might met up with Baku in the hallway. "Young man, you were quite impressive there." "Thanks, but I don't need your pity. I'm obviously nowhere near as powerful as he is." "But you could be." "What?" "Yeah, you could be." "How? There's no way I could ever gain as much strength as he has." "Do you know where quirks come from?" "Yeah, apparently from the gods." "Correct. But every family has a shrine of a god they worship because they believe that that god gives them strength and watches over them because they are descended from that god. So who is your family god?" "Ares." "Okay then, you need to connect with him if you want to draw out more of your power." "How do I do that?" "Just like they did in the days of old. A sacrifice." I don't know if I want to kill." "No, I'm just playing. Just kill a cow or something." As All Might smiled and walked away. As Baka thought, like that would ever work. But whatever, it's worth a shot. As Baku went to a farm and bought a live cow and brought it to his house, as he then put it down and blew its head off on the altar, and said, hear ye, this is my offering to my god Ares. Hear my call, O great one, and take this offering as a gift. As he was clutching and holding his hands together with his eyes closed, as he opened them and looked around, not seeing anything, he said, Man, this is some bull. As an explosion could be heard, as a 14-foot tall man in golden red Spartan armor with flaming eyes appeared before Baco. Still think this is bull. Whoa, I didn't expect you to actually appear. Well, I did. Okay, you're a war god? So why do I have explosions? Wrong. I represent the spirit and devastating effects of war. War is explosive, is it not? Haven't you noticed that you love to fight, and whenever it gets intense, you start to go stronger? And the more people that attack you, it only seems to aid your strength. You thought it was a coincidence. Well, it's not. Did you call me here just to chit-chat? If so, I have wars to oversee. As Ares turned away from Baco. No, I need power. As Ares turned his head towards Baco and said, Power, you say? What for? Deku, my childhood friend, has had super strength for the longest time. And during his birth, it was a catastrophic thunderstorm that destroyed every building on the block except his. And I thought it was purely a coincidence, because he had super strength, or at least that's what I thought. But every year he grew stronger and stronger, eventually to the point that he was becoming more resistant to my blast of heat. And sometimes when he would get angry, I would notice electricity start to circuit in devices. But now, after spending some time with his supposed father, he can use the wind, lightning, and he can even call upon clouds to cast lightning. Tell me, how do I surpass him? As Ares said, It appears that Deku is a direct son of Zeus, and for some reason my father has taken special interest in him. It's fitting. I'm the wayward son, and some gets all the praise and attention. So, can I beat him, or are you just gonna keep monologuing? No, you can't. You're too damn weak. As Baco said, Damn it! By yourself, that is. What do I need to do to get strong? I'll do anything. Anything you say. As Ares put his hands on Baco's head and said, I, Ares, the god of war, bestow upon you my power. As Ares gave Baco a divine seal that manifested in the palm of his hand. What is this? It's a seal. Your body is far too weak to absorb and contain all of my divine power. Your family in particular manifested my divine power somewhat a few generations ago. But your father was weak until he gets absorbed in battle, and your mother is ready for battle, yet her power is not fully there. You're lucky that two people containing my blood have been chosen to mate. Wait, that's like... For gods, DNA worked vastly different. And besides, your parents' bloodlines have been far too watered down to even manifest me. You're lucky that you even have to directly even summon me. This seal in your body shall act as a kind of container for divine power to draw upon. It should be on you forever. Not only will it add to your strength, agility, and power, but it would also add to your battle thirst. You wouldn't have an insurmountable urge to fight and kill, and the more you do, the stronger you will get. You're a hero, so I'd advise you to kill only villains. Don't harm your inferiors too harshly when you kick their ass in hero training. I wouldn't think of it, said Baco. Regardless, I'm gonna need to stay with you for a while to train you on how to properly draw out your power. So where are you taking me exactly? To war. For how long? Until you're ready to stand on your own and you can fully use your divine power. As Ares said, before that, I need to talk with your parents. As Ares walked into the Katsuki house, he simply said, Descendants, I'm gonna take your son for training. We'll be back. How long will he be gone, said Baku's mother. Recognizing who he was before her, she bowed and her husband bowed. A few weeks, a month at most. Bye. As Ares walked outside of the house, as he grabbed Baco and they simply disappeared into a burst of an explosion. For convenience sake, I'm going to say that the events in UA took more time to happen, but let's get to the hero versus villain fight. Todoroki and Ida versus Momo and Deku. As Deku and Momo started talking of a strategy, he said, I'll take care of Ida and Todoroki. You get the bomb. It's probably covered in ice. Okay. As they started running, Ida came out of nowhere and did a spinning kick with his engines towards Deku. Deku, seeing this, simply grabbed his leg midair and then shocked Ida, and then powered up his arm with electricity, and then slammed Ida down, causing him to burst through the floors of buildings. As Ida came crashing down, Todoroki created a soft place of ice for Ida to rest and be caught with. As Deku, seeing Todoroki, grabbed Momo, flew down, and then wrapped her with wind, and then put her in a safe place from Todoroki's reach. He then looked at Todoroki and shot a wave of normal electricity at Todoroki. Todoroki, seeing the electricity, then started to put up a wall of ice, as it destroyed some of the ice, but it kept a good part of his defense up. Seeing this, Deku said, let's kick this up a notch. Full voltage. As he sent faster and more erratic waves of electricity towards Todoroki. Todoroki, getting berated with electricity, decided to cuddle himself up. As he wrapped himself in ice, he then shot pikes of ice from his ice cocoon towards Deku. Deku simply radiated electricity that melted all of the ice that was being shot at him. As he said, "Divine shock," as he created a barrier of divine lightning on his fist, and then punched through the ice, and then grabbed Todoroki by the throat and said, "Well, I thought you were going to heat things up, but I guess not," as he shocked Todoroki and knocked him out. Not a USJ. As they were being shown the different parts of the USJ, 13 was explaining the uses and how they'd help the heroes develop. A portal appeared and separated everybody into different parts of the USJ, and then it summoned a multitude of villains placed in the individual students. But this time, the main target of attack was Deku. So Aizawa got paired up with a smaller modified Nomos with just strong base strength that occupy him, while Deku was surrounded with multiple demonic Nomos who each had rubber bodies and extreme super strength, basically being his perfect matches. As the Nomos all surrounded Deku and attacked him in tandem, he tried to electrocute them, but realizing that it was having little to no effect, he then flew up into the air and then used the wind to rip their arms off. As he then created multiple clouds above the Nomos and then hailed bolts of lightning at the dismembered Nomos. The Nomos, not taking any damage, started to run towards Deku, as they then started to grow their limbs back. As he shot larger beams of lightning, having almost no effect, he noticed that the more electricity they received, the stronger and faster they got. As Shigaraki, scratching his neck, laughed and said, "They're made from a demon's corpse, specifically rubber one, so your powers won't have any effect on it, because rubber dissipates lightning. And not only that, they've been engineered in a lab to go strong with the added electricity and lightning. So not only are your blasts not having any effect on them, but you're also making them stronger." As the Nomos then started to spin each other around and throw each other in the air towards Deku at extremely high speeds. As Deku dodged and used the wind to throw some of them away, he still missed a few, since they were going at extremely high speeds. He was then hit square in the chest, causing him to be thrown across the USJ. As Kurogiri then teleported a Nomo's fist behind Deku, punching Deku straight back to the other Nomos. As the other Nomos, seeing Deku coming, then threw each other in the air and then threw another version of themselves downward to Deku to then slam him to the ground. The other students trying to fight off the villains saw what was happening to Deku and then tried to fight off the villains to help him, but it was of no use. Kurogiri simply teleported smaller, strong Nomos to distract them. At this point, Ida had been beaten terribly, so there wasn't anyone to tell the teachers what was happening. As a bloody Deku with broken ribs and ligaments struggled to get up, as a Nomos slammed him to the ground by his throat, as the other Nomos grabbed him and held him up, as the other Nomos started to viciously beat him up, breaking all the other bones in his body, leaving him next to dead. He's beaten so badly not even an anime flashback can save him at this point, as Shigaraki then laughs, then brings a bloodied and beat up Momo and Uraka, as Deku then says, No, stop. "Oh, they're important to you, huh? Well, that's too bad." As he looks at a Noma and says, "Beat them up for me, will ya?" As the Noma then raises its hand and punches through Uraka, killing her, as Deku coughs up blood and screams, "No!" As Shigaraki said, "I said beat it up, not kill, but whatever. You're gonna get reprimanded for this. Whatever, kill the other one." As Momo looks at Deku, crying tears of blood as she smiles at Deku and then said, "It was good that it lasted. I hope in the next life." As the Nomu picked up Momo, wound its fist back, and Momo said, "Goodbye, my..." As she lost consciousness, and the Nomu pushed its fist towards Momo. But before it could even hit Momo, the fist had been completely destroyed. As Deku had Momo in his arms, as Deku was radiating pure lightning, it was almost as if he was electricity. Every light and energy source in the room was being drained of power and going into him. Kaminari was being drained and simply passed out. As Deku stared at Shigaraki, he then said, "I am going to kill you. and I'm going to enjoy it. As the Nomos immediately jumped at Deku, but it was like Deku was simply walking, as he didn't even touch the Nomos. They just melted from the amount of heat he was radiating off of him. As he had been pouring water all over the battlefield to use an attack and had drenched himself in water, but he had done it with tiny clouds, so Shigaraki had assumed that he was just sweating. But in actuality, he had been wetting the Nomos and himself with water after every punch he had received. And in his divine form, he was radiating lightning, so hot that everything around it had just melted due to the intensity of his power. As Deku held up Shigaraki and shocked him with enough bolts of lightning to leave him incapacitated. As Shigaraki passes out, Deku proceeded to inject him with more lightning as Shigaraki's skin is melting off due to the heat. Kurogiri tries to send Nomos in his direction, but it's of no use, as every Nomo that gets within a 20-foot radius of him is immediately reduced to ashes. As Deku then lifts Shigaraki up with his wind, he then creates a mini vortex on his left side that is ripping Shigaraki to shreds, and then on the right side he forms a giant wet raining cloud and is shooting lightning bolts so hot that Shigaraki's limbs are falling off. As Shigaraki started to scream in pain, Kurogiri tries to save him. As Kurogiri tried to save Shigaraki, Deku then grabbed him with wind and squeezed him. As Kurogiri started to reel in pain, Deku smiled, then fully closed his hands, leaving Kurogiri in a crippled state. As Deku then looked back at Shigaraki, then brought him in front of him, grabbed his legs, and then blew them off with pure lightning. As Deku then looked at Shigaraki in his eye and said, "Any last words?" As Shigaraki, fully enraged, leaking demonic energy, said, "Yeah, what are yours?" As Shigaraki then sprouted horns, as his eyes changed to blood red, he formed new limbs as he was surrounded with a demonic aura. He then grabbed Deku's right side. As Deku grabbed his right side, he then started filling him up with lightning. As that side that Shigaraki held started to decay, as they were completely destroying each other in a standstill. As Shigaraki said, "Do you want us to kill each other, or do you want to save that girl before she bleeds out?" As Deku said, "That girl." As Deku and Shigaraki released control of each other, Shigaraki went to Kurogiri and Deku went to Momo. As Deku started to heal her with his lightning, Shigaraki started to heal Kurogiri. As Kurogiri woke up, he then teleported him and Shigaraki away. As Deku then summoned clouds and struck every villain in the USJ to death. As Deku then held Rock in his arms and cried, as he then passed out and came out of his divine form. When he awoke, he was in the infirmary. As a recovery girl said, "You should be fine in a few weeks, but you might want to take it easy, because your muscles are still sore." As infirmary girl suddenly fell asleep, she was caught by Hermes and put onto a bed, as he said, "I am Hermes, you probably know who I am. Zeus sent you some ambrosia so you can be healed," as he uncorked the bottle and poured into Deku's mouth, completely healing him. You can heal yourself in your divine form, and you have a type of healing factor, but currently it drains a great deal of your energy, so you should train yourself to endure your newly acquired form. Anywho, these are some bottles of ambrosia. Don't let anyone else drink it, unless it's a drop or two. Their divine concentrations aren't nearly as big as yours, so they might quite literally blow up due to its contents. But if they're stronger and they can access their divine form, or at least a greater extent of their divine abilities, then you can allow them to drink it. But you can keep it and it can help you heal instantly, so keep it on you. As Deku said thanks. As Hermes said no problem, then left. And Recovery Girl immediately woke back up. After the battle, the media was all over the event because the student had died. Deku had received an immeasurable amount of praise, yet it meant nothing to him because he couldn't stop Uraka from dying. As everyone from Class 1A mourned the loss of Uraka, they used it as motivation to train for the sports festival. After the event, the students were then instructed to move in. This caused an uproar among the students and parents, but it was soon accepted. As Deku was outside practicing teleportation, he was then greeted by Momo. "What are you trying to do?" "I'm trying to teleport." "Oh, I just see you flash up and down." "Yeah, I'm trying to visualize the sky, flash up to a cloud, and then choose a place for a lightning bolt to go, and then hold on to it." "Oh, how's that going?" "It's going pretty bad. I just can't grasp a shooting cloud while looking all over the sky while also trying to maintain my form. It's just 3 different processes at once." "Well, why don't you focus on perfecting the hardest processes and then practice perfecting the other ones at one at a time?" "Yeah, thanks, I'll try that. How are you, by the way?" "I know death has affected everyone differently." "Yeah, it really made me think and realize how powerless I am in situations." "Why are you so strong?" "Because I have a good connection with my family roots and my family god. So I'm able to gain wisdom and insight from him." Oh, do you think I can connect with my family god? Maybe if you're lucky, but hey, you never know until you try, right? And she said thanks and walked away. Now, weeks later, it's time for the sports festival. By this time, Bakugo had returned from his training. Now to Deku's speech. Regardless of what you did to prepare for this moment, you know I'm gonna reign supreme. But that still doesn't give you an excuse to give up, so try your best regardless of the outcome. As he left the stage, everyone in the stands and realized that it was somewhat boastful, but it was completely true, and they respected his honesty. As the announcer said go, all the students started running. Bakugo, with his newfound super strength, jumped in the air and said, "Full blast!" as he let off a medium explosion under his feet, launching him forward. As Deku simply flew to Bakugo and caught up with him, as Momo then summoned a giant rocket and got on top of it and blasted off. As everyone was simply taken aback by the uniqueness of her ability. As Bakugo, seeing Deku catch up to him, simply pointed his fingers at a speeding Deku and said, "Blow," while flicking his fingers, as Deku was then blown back, as Deku then smiled and said, "Oh, that's how you want to play it." As Deku then got up and flew even faster, as he then grabbed Bakugo with his wind and threw him out of the arena, as he then boosted himself forward and got to first place. As Momo then soon came after him and got second, as Bakugo blasted himself back into the arena and got third. As Todoroki, being fairly slower than all three of them, got fourth. He was still faster than the others in his class, but just not nearly as fast as Momo, Bakugo, or Deku. Now to the team battle. As Deku gets a 10 million headband, everyone considers taking it, but they know that they can't beat him. Bakugo and Todoroki think of it as a chance to redeem themselves. As Momo joins Deku's team, Tokiyami and Ayami decide to join his team. As the battle starts, Deku immediately wraps him in a ball of wind and flies him into the air. Knowing that Bakugo and Todoroki are going to attempt to take his headband, he then creates a thundercloud for them to hide in. As the arena is covered with a giant thundercloud, as everyone in the audience is looking up at the clouds, wondering if they're at risk of a lightning bolt. After some time passes, Midnight said, "Round over," as Deku dissipated the clouds and was then awarded the winner. Now to the battles. I'm simply going to skip to Momo versus Tokiyami. As Midnight said go, Momo then summoned flash grenades and threw them at Tokiyami, blinding and weakening him. As she then summoned a rapid rocket launcher, firing rocket after rocket, while also lacing the battlefield with traps as they were moving around in circles, with him trying to get a clear angle at her and her trying to force him into her traps. As Tokiyami, now tired of defending rockets, then launched himself towards her to close the gap and finish her off. As she activated her traps, Little Robot shot metal ropes toward Tokiyami, binding his arms and legs and chest. As Tokiyami was held down, Momo, while holding a cake, formed a gun and put it to Tokiyami's head and said, "Do you still want to proceed?" He said, "No, I give up." As she then proceeded to the next round, with her versus Ida. As the round started, Momo, knowing that Ida's main aspect is speed, summoned multiple caltrops and threw them all over the battlefield. She then summoned rubber automated machine guns, forcing Ida to stay on the move. As Ida then started to use his turbines to kick away the caltrops to allow him to have more mobility, she then started creating bombs to blow up the ground in parts of the arena, so that it would be harder for him to stably run. As Ida's speed at this point has been considerably lowered, since he had to be conscious of every place he stepped while also trying to avoid the rubber bullets, as Momo then summoned flash grenades and threw them at him, causing him to stumble and fall over, as she then summoned smaller robots and shot metal ropes, tying him up. As the robots suspended a tired and shot Ida, she was then declared the winner. Now, Momo versus Todoroki. She gave up. Now, Todoroki versus Deku. As the match started, Todoroki immediately threw up a giant beam of ice towards Deku, to which Deku simply used the wind and split it in half and threw it away just by opening his hands from closed palm position. As Todoroki then started moving himself with his ice while circling Deku and shooting beams of ice at him, to which Deku simply started radiating himself in electricity, melting all of the ice. Then Deku, with the wind, then grabbed Todoroki and brought him to him, and then punched him, knocking him down. As Deku then picked him up and kicked him across the field. As Todoroki got up, Deku then immediately shot electricity at him, shocking him, causing him to stumble, as Deku then kept shooting electricity at him. He then proceeded to cover himself with ice, to which Deku simply formed a ball of concentrated electricity around his fist, then ran to the shield of ice and then punched through it, grabbing Todoroki by the throat. As he then said, "I thought this was going to be fun, but you're not even using your flames." "I'll never use my father's flames." "Your father likes to drink water. Are you going to stop drinking water because your father likes to drink it?" Regardless, let's wrap this up. As Deku then threw Todoroki into the air, as Todoroki thought, He's right, it's my power, not his. As Deku then wrapped Todoroki in a ball of wind, to which he then coated himself in fire, burning the oxygen. As he then boosted himself downward with his flame to punch Deku, to which Deku then charged himself up with lightning and punched back. As soon as Todoroki had got a foothold on the ground, he then shot a wave of fire towards Deku, to which he then smiled, charged himself with lightning, and then ran through the flames, and then said, "It's good that you finally decided to take this seriously, but it's far too late." As Endeavor was getting up to yell about Todoroki using his flames, Deku, charged with his lightning, started amplifying himself with his wind, and then hit Todoroki in the face, knocking him out and shocking him, making Endeavor immediately sit back down. Now to Bakugo versus Deku. As Bakugo said, "I'm finally strong enough to beat you. Ares and I have made sure of that. It's good that you're confident, but Ares isn't the king of the gods. Zeus is." As Bakugo entered his divine form, making him taller and stronger, as he then changed the behavior of the crowd, making everyone more violent and erratic, as they then started chanting, "Bakugo! Bakugo! Bakugo!" As he started to grow in power, as he was now at 50% in strength in comparison to One For All, as he then launched himself at Deku. Deku charged with lightning and wind, dodged his fist, as Bakugo then said, "Burst!" as it was an explosion created on Deku, as he was then blown back. The crowd roared as Bakugo grew stronger, as Deku then said, "I've noticed you can now control where your blasts are. Yeah, it's one of my divine abilities. I'm no longer restricted by my sweat, and I can change the behavior and attitude of people, and use their spirit to make me stronger." Interesting. Well, even with all that, you still won't have enough to beat me. As Deku then turned to his divine form and became lightning, as he then went behind Bakugo at lightning speed and then blasted him in the back with his full strength, burning Bakugo, as he then went punch for punch for punch for punch, as Bakugo is simply seen moving back and forward, as lightning is seen circling around him, as Deku is viciously pounding Bakugo. Bakugo decides to blow himself up to knock Deku away. As soon as Deku sees the explosion about to form, he then gets back, and then starts rapidly throwing power lightning bolts at Bakugo, striking him, making him fall to his knees. As Bakugo screams in pain, Deku then rushes to Bakugo and then puts both of his hands on Bakugo's head, and then starts shocking him with pure lightning. As Bakugo is screaming, he then passes out due to the viciousness of Deku's attack, and got out of his divine form. To which Deku then went home, got his ambrosia, and came back in an instant, came out of his divine form, and then poured some in the mouth of Bakugo, healing him of his injuries. As Bakugo then says, "Jeez, you could have killed me." "Yeah, but you wouldn't have backed down if I hadn't taken it seriously." Todoroki was awarded his third place medal, as Bakugo was given his second place medal, and then finally, Deku was then given his first place medal. And that's it for this What If. Sorry for the late upload. I've been trapped in South Africa for a month due to COVID restrictions, so it's been kind of tough. But I'm back now, and I'm working on another video right now. And then after that, I'm also going to post another video that was taken down. Or not taken out, but like blocked due to YouTube. And yeah. Remember, sub. Don't be a Bye.